that we have some information about Nvidia 4000 series and we've had an opportunity to have Nvidia answer questions, let's talk about the stuff that really isn't adding up and what you really should be concerned about. Okay, so if you haven't caught up on all the news having to do with Nvidia and their 4000 series, you should take a gander at the latest video I released yesterday on all the news and the responses Nvidia actually gave to us about our questions. But now that we've gone through everything, people have responded. Now that we've got the videos across the whole smorgasbord from Jay and Linus and UFD and Gamers Nexus, etc. Now that we have all the answers that we potentially could get, where does this put us in regards to Nvidia 4000 series? And I'm just gonna be blunt. You need to wait. And to quote every bad police drama, let us do our job. Nvidia has essentially announced new cards. They've announced prices, and what I think is even more egregious than the naming stuff is that they have based all of their cards' uplift on DLSS numbers and given no one a real look as to what these cards are actually capable of. And I mean by rasterization in this case. Look, drama or anything else aside, my real job here is to help you make an informed purchase decision, or an informed purchase decision not to purchase something. My responsibility is to you, and when you purchase something, you feel informed and educated on whatever it is you were going to buy. So in this case, let's talk about the 4080 and the 4090. Now, one thing I can say, and I can say this with a high degree of confidence, is that no one right now can really help you make an informed purchase decision when it comes to the 4000 series cards from Nvidia. So let's break down what the weirdness is and why I'm recommending you wait and give some educated guesses, and I feel pretty good about these, on where I think things are gonna play out. Okay, first, let's talk about that weird elephant in the room, and that's the RTX 4080 12GB. There's been a lot of concern about this card, and rightfully so. In this handy dandy chart that I showed yesterday, you can see that there are very, and I do mean very real differences in this card beyond just the amount of RAM, which is essentially what the name is inferring. See, it's kind of like going and purchasing like a Porsche 911, but one is like a turbo and the other is a Turbo S. Now you expect you're gonna be getting the same car as a Porsche 911, but with less performance. Now, which is fine. I mean, that's totally okay. But instead, in this case, Porsche decided if you get a Porsche 911 Turbo instead of an S, that you're gonna put a VW Passat engine in it, and suspension and interior from a VW Passat, and then they're gonna say it's a Porsche 911 because it's in a Porsche 911 body. See, enthusiasts would be pissed. And that's what you're seeing right now, is because of this little bit of information right here on the chart where it says 80-104, which 104 has been the core naming convention of the 70 series of cards, not the 80 series of cards. Now, here's the deal. I'm not gonna go and rehash this. Jay has done a great video on it and does a good job of covering it and why it's an issue. See, the why and the motivation is the interesting part. And this is where I think Nvidia is in a little bit of trouble on the PR side right now. See, between the EVGA debacle, where if you've been living under a rock, EVGA isn't making GPUs anymore in partnership with Nvidia after like 20 years of doing so, the alleged backdoor deals with like crypto miners, and the far from customer first approach when it comes to GPU pricing and creating artificial scarcity by controlling inventory, people aren't giving Nvidia a lot of the benefit of the doubt. Okay, because here's the deal. There was a briefing that the press got to be a part of on the 23rd, the day after the announce. And they asked, the press asked specifically, was the 4080 12GB supposed to be the 4070 or 4070 Ti? To which Nvidia responded, no, we believe that it is a powerful enough GPU that it should be called a 4080 and live under the 4080 moniker. And all of you and the tech press were like,
you serious?
yeah. Sure it is. Here's what Nvidia's largest issue is, and what isn't helping them in this situation, is that no one really knows how good these cards really are, which is actually what I think is the grossest oversight here from so many people covering the 4000 series announced right now. I mean, sure, fine, they probably should have called it a 4070, but all of the graphs and the numbers, the real issue, all of the uplift that they have touted and talked about on their cards, when they say the 4090 is 4 3090 Ti's, or 3 3080 Ti's, or 3 3080s, is based on the numbers using DLSS 3.0, which is in fact generating additional frames. Okay, so So here's a quick recap if you didn't watch yesterday's video, but DLSS is kind of made up from 3 parts, which the third part is now new. When you enable DLSS, and again, I'm gonna use that term and toggle when I say toggle loosely because it's more than just a single toggle, but when you turn it on, your 3000 series cards, we're turning on what's called DLSS Super Resolution, which gives you more frames, and Nvidia Reflex, and the more frames actually are more frames, and Nvidia Reflex, which drops the latency. The example Nvidia showed of DLSS 2.0 was Cyberpunk, which with ray tracing on was sitting at 23 FPS and 161 milliseconds of latency, but with DLSS 2.0, meaning Super Resolution turned on and Nvidia Reflex, it jumped to 62 frames per second and 58 milliseconds of latency. Now, you're seeing a video here that's what's Connor's showing you, but we actually did it off of a presentation. I know the video and the numbers I'm showing are a little bit different. Point is that things got better because of the super sampling. It was doing a lower resolution and then using AI to uplift, and you were actually getting a faster frame rate. So those 2 parts will continue to work on the 3000 series cards, even with DLSS 3.0 as it is implemented in the new games. The third one, this is new. It's called frame generation, and that took those 62 frames and bumped it up to 101 frames, which are new frames added via frame generation, and dropped it to 55 milliseconds via the improved Nvidia Reflex. Now, if you do not have a 4000 series card, you will not see a jump from 62 to 101. This is the part that is locked only to 4000 series, and that's because of this new improved optical flow acceleration that has been improved in the 4000 series card with algorithmic improvements, and it's 2 to 2.5 times faster than the one in the 3000 series. And I'll talk a little bit about that in the 3000 series here in a minute. But the jump from 62 to 101 was because they are literally creating new frames via frame generation. The game isn't faster. See, this is important. They are making new frames. It's like if you had $62 and then someone printed $39, you didn't become $101 richer, you got 39 fake dollars that look really close to the other $62. And see, this is why Nvidia isn't having much of a leg to stand on when it comes to the 4080 12 gig, is because we actually have no idea on how good these cards are without DLSS. Now, to be clear, there is some uplift for sure. I have no doubt. But what? Well, we don't know. But I can make a conjecture, an educated guess of sorts, and this is one of the good things about Jensen and what he did. I use good relatively, but I believe it actually shows where these cards are on a power curve. So if we drew a curve of power, hey, you know what? Hey, let's make it like an Apple graph, just like everybody else, because it's all based on speculation, and all you can do is kind of get the point. So at the low end, you have the 3060 at $329. The 3060 Ti at $399, the 3070 at $499, the 3070 Ti at $599, the 3080 at $699, the 4080 12 gig at $899, or the 4070, the 3090 Ti at $1099, the 4080 16 gig at $1199, and the 4090 at $1599. There is your order of operations and power when it comes to raw performance right now. In other words, you can see that the 3090 Ti is probably actually just slightly less powerful, or $100, or whatever that turns out to equated power, than a 4080 16 gig. And that a 3090 Ti is probably better than a 4080 12 gig. And a 3080 is, actually quite a bit of a drop, maybe potentially, than a 4080 12 gig. That's what I'm guessing. See, here's the deal. That's least powerful to the most powerful card, and Nvidia had to make the 3000 series prices make sense. I know, surprise, they weren't ready for this, but they had to have it make sense, and the most logical way to do so is to have it go by power. Now, do we know this for sure? No. We have no real world numbers to base this off of, but just other than DLSS, which really doesn't tell us anything. Now, here's the deal. I know folks are up in arms about the 4070. Sorry, I mean the 3080 12 gig, but here is something else you need to put in your brain pan. Nvidia does have the capability to actually up the frames via DLSS 3.0 and frame generation for your 3000 series cards. That's right, the 3000 series does in fact have optical flow acceleration, and Nvidia did say it could bring this technology in the same briefing that we all attended and everybody heard it, in order for in older cards to with further optimization and engineering to make it work. But right now there is no announcement to do so. See, I want you to ponder this, because how much more would it hurt those performance graphs if they did in fact enable DLSS 3.0 for Turing? And those jumps in performance were like, say for instance, halved, because they said it's 2 to 2.5 times more powerful. So if that was half, I don't know guys, but if there's something people should potentially be upset about, wouldn't it be that essentially Nvidia could have made it work for 3000 series and 4000 series, but they chose not to? Now, I want to be very clear. It could be a ton of work and we have no idea what the performance gains are, but then again, it could have also been a little work and the performance gains could have been dramatic. Nvidia hasn't been doing themselves any favors lately, and it's hard to make a call on any of this, at least until we get cards and can figure out what is what. Okay, so wrapping it up though, what's my point? My point is wait. Please, if you can, wait, because I feel that in so many ways we're just going with what we feel the masses and media are telling us, which is purchase the next big thing that's coming across the shelves because we've been told it's way more powerful. But this one feels different though, because it feels like we've been told it's super powerful, but with so many more caveats and so much more hand waving. So before you put that 3090 out to pasture, or even that 3080 up on eBay with hundreds of cards that miners have dumped and selling it for less than it should, wait and see if it really even makes any sense. And yes, you should absolutely see what AMD is going to announce on the 3rd and see where that lands after its reviews for those cards as well. There is no game, there is nothing, I mean no game that absolutely requires that you upgrade right now. You will eventually get the card that you want if you are patient, and I don't know about you, but if I'm spending the money I am on a GPU, I sure as heck want to make sure that I made the right choice. So let us do the testing. Let us find out what's really going on and help you do what you come to so many of us TechTubers and tech talkers and tech influencers for. Let us help you make an informed purchase decision. This just requires you to be patient and perhaps not be the first person to go get that new GPU, but in the end, it may end up saving you a ton of money, or better yet, just make you feel confident in what you decided to do because you had all the information when you spent the money. But hey, you know what? That's me. I'd love to know what you think. I'd love to know your thoughts and give me your breakdown down in the comments below. What do you think of 4000 series and this whole thing that's going on? Did you consider the points I made above? What do you think of my power curve idea, and do you think it's pretty close? Please comment and tell us. Now, while you're down there, you see that like and subscribe button? Well, I'm hoping this video is good enough, so if you could just hit it gingerly while you're at it, go and ring that notification bell so you get a notification on videos just like this and more. And also, don't forget we have a live channel, youtube.com/Robeytech Live. It's actually our bigger brother, and you should go check that out because we'll be doing builds and live benchmarking of each of these series and these new GPUs and CPUs right over there. So go hit like and subscribe over at youtube.com/Robeytech Live. Information's down in the description. Do you want to talk to us more about this stuff? Check out our Discord server at discord.gg/Robeytech, where we have a ton of like-minded people and not so like-minded individuals who love to talk and debate about this stuff all the time. And I am on there all the time. Also, follow us on all the other socials so you can see rad builds like the one we showed on Instagram, or like fire memes like this from Twitter. And what about this really great short form content on TikTok or YouTube Shorts? We are always uploading content on all of our channels, and you can follow along at Robeytech absolutely everywhere. Anyway, guys, that's it for this episode. I hope you liked it, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.